Okay, let's call the Executive Committee of Operations Oswego County to order. I'll ask Karen to do a roll call.
Roll call of the members: Pete Cullinan,
Here.
John Sharkey,
Here.
Eric Bailing,
Here.
Ron Tascarella,
Here.
Ed Gilson is excused, Susan Cole, here, Rachel Pierce, here, Rick Weber.
Here.
Staff from Operation Oswego County: Austin Wheelock,
Here.
Kevin LaMontagne,
Here.
and Karen Hurwitz. I think that's it.
All right, and we do anticipate that general counsel will join at some point, but we don't need him at this point, so we'll move to the meeting.
Okay. Hopefully everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from April 9th and July 14th special meeting. So I'd ask for a motion to approve those.
Yes, a motion to approve both or separately?
We can do them together.
We can, yeah, just want to be clear.
Make a motion for both. Okay, so we got Ron, we need a second.
Okay.
Second, Eric. Any comments or questions or hearing none? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Karen, I do know that I saw this notice in the Pell Times, so that's item 2 on the agenda, so it was duly noted. Financials, you got that, yeah?
I can go real quick.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Please.
Year to date, our cash is up from last year, when we do the sale of BC building. So positives there, around keeping strong. Income statement, we're running at a slight loss, but year on year, we were at $6,000 to $7,000. And last year, for 11,000 to 20,000 last year. Everything's tracking to budget.
I'll just say that a lot of our costs are early in the year, so we're usually sort of, we're revenue high early in the year, and things usually catch up as the year.
I would say the only notable expense that has a bigger change is due subscription publications, and that is due to software.
It was, yeah, that's correct.
So we need a motion to accept the financials, correct?
Yes.
So would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Rachel, we need a second? Any questions or feedback? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
No, okay, thank you. Michael Treadwell, Industrial Park.
Yeah, so I don't have the actual memo in front of us, but I apologize on that. It was in front of the IDA who actually previously approved. So we have a $14,000 project to do a video series related to the expansion of the industrial park. It actually started at the groundbreaking last week. We had Dan Farley out there to do, and we did some initial costs related to it. What we're looking to do is a series of with that video as well as 4 videos that'll be shot between now and next summer when the project ends, to really kind of build momentum, do an advertising promotion campaign around it. The first of the main videos will be actually used at our Semicon West trip here in October. But this is something that, being such a key project of Operation Oswego County and the IDA, we wanted to capture this, be able to utilize it in all of our social media and other sorts of things. So the video from last week plus the 4 videos altogether is $14,000. The IDA has already committed to up to $7,000. And I've also had a discussion with Brian Anderson at National Grid to potentially look at sharing some of that cost as well. So that's why the ask is for up to $7,000. That would be the maximum if there is not any assistance from National Grid on the project. And that is cost sharing that directly with the IDA. So whatever the IDA is contributing to ultimately would be the same responsibility of operations for the county. And I do want to share, while the expansion property is owned by the IDA, Operation Oswego County, through our administrative service contract, is responsible for all property management for properties owned by the IDA. It's also a major initiative of Operation Oswego County to bring new businesses into that, as well as, it helps to market the existing industrial apartment property that's still there as well. So, that's why the ask is what it is. Adrian?
Sorry.
Anybody got questions for Austin? Well then, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the up to $7,000 for the videography of the industrial? Right, okay. No second. And Rick, second, over one more time, any questions or?
The first of the videos are scheduled to be Semicon West. Are we on target for that?
Yes.
Completed and.
Yeah. They got a lot of really good footage last week. They actually did like a little teaser video for us that already went out on our social media, I believe it was yesterday or Tuesday, I think it was. Yeah. Correct days right now. Went out on Tuesday. It was really well done. I mean, honestly, Dan is he is a pro. They came to us and they actually had that video to us by the next day, literally less than 18 hours later, they had that to us. So they really understand the project. I mean, the other reason that we're working with them, we did an initial project with those guys last year that became a centerpiece of our Empire State Development Fest New York ask. And so the videos are just tell the story much better than a press release or even some pictures can do it. It's just a great way to help market promote what's happening.
Thanks.
Any other feedback or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Karen, as you ask for roll call votes, you want to go through and do a roll call on each of these? Just
As long as we can hear everybody, including John, then I think we're.
He's on screen and, okay,
Yeah,
we're good.
yeah,
All
as
right.
long as we're meeting the ADO requirements for that, I'm good with that.
All right.
So next up, the industrial park land sale to the IDA.
Yeah, so this would have been previously approved. It's just taken a little bit longer than we anticipated to get closed. And since work will be starting this month, we wanted to have the executive committee make a formal authorization to begin work on the site before that the land sale has been completed. We're also asking to authorize a right-of-way agreement until that sale. I mean, we think that this will probably happen sometime later this month or in September, but we just want to make sure that Operation Oswego County is covered from the perspective of that we're added on the IDA's insurance as an additionally insured, just all the things that, protect us between now and when that sale is officially complete. So each of those are separate approvals, but we just want to make sure because we didn't do a formal authorization of work to begin temporarily until the sale completed. We're like, we'll have that done in time. As things they just take longer than you think. So we're asking for these things to be done today.
Is there a need for an authorization for work? Sorry to prompt this.
Yeah.
Moment in the meeting, but for anywhere else in the park, like while we're at it, should we just make it very broad, like down by the entrance for? I don't know what's going with our right away. I don't know.
There's other stuff that this is specific to there's going to be work that's going to be taking place in the existing park, but it's within an existing right-of-way easement that exists for natural gas and electricity. So I don't really think we need to do that because those existing easements would cover that. This is really on a piece of property that's just a vacant piece of land where the entrance road will go in. So I don't believe so unless Kevin, you think that there's some value to make it a little broad enough that it covers us in any event that something pops up.
I think if that were to, I'm not aware of anything at the moment, and I think you're right, the easements that are in place probably cover us if there is something, right?
Maybe utilities, at least there.
Yeah.
We can act.
The only thing that would change, and I guess we would find this out for National Grid down the road, is if they want to take a different route through the park to bring the gas, and they don't want to work within the existing one, they want to go around the backside or something like that, but I believe we're already covered under that.
And keep in mind, this is, so with the authorization today, I've already drafted a purchase contract. We'll start with a purchase contract, but it'll immediately go through to a sale. We've got the survey, I believe, has been completed. And the abstract is being updated, but it's pretty, it'll move.
Actually, I think the survey is one of the issues. The surveyor that we've been using, it's been a bit of a challenge. They're hooked up, so we're utilizing the one that CNS has been using. So it's just different, Good to have a couple different ones that we can do.
Well, the survey is important because that will tell us exactly the dollar figure. It's tied to the acreage.
Right.
It's 19,000 per acre and a fraction thereof. So depending on what the survey says, the official needs and bounds description will form the cost, and then we'll close. But it'll starts with this authorization, and then I've got Nikki Nally's going to be signing the purchase contract on behalf of the IDA. Not going to do Pete to sign on behalf of Operation Oswego County.
Okay.
Get that underway.
So these three will cover us and,
Yeah, these were the three things that we'd identified as being important to having in place, you know, prior to a lands, the sale being closed.
all right. And you want a motion for each one?
I believe, yeah, I think it's important to do individual.
Who's the work that can be done is that the IDA is responsible for that work.
Yes.
Contract.
Yeah, so we already have a contract with WD Malone related to the GC work, and we also have separate CRA agreements with National Grid related to the work that's being done for the electrical and gas.
In addition to grant agreements with the state.
Yeah, there's a whole.
A lot of agreements.
Yeah, yeah. And
Well,
then
the real estate, we already had.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point. This has already gone through real estate, so we're just, authorizing some of this work.
All right. So we need a motion to authorize work on a 1.6 acre site. All right, great. We have a second. All right. Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And we need a motion to authorize right-of-way agreement. Ron? And we need a second.
Awesome.
Rick? Okay. And any further discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And last but not least, the IDA to add Operation Oswego County as additionally insured. You have a motion on that?
Yeah, you're not making the motion for the IDA to do it. You're making the motion for Operation Oswego County to accept and request that to be done. Yeah, awesome. You can't make that. You can't tell the IDA what to do, but right.
It's a Ron and Rick.
Sure.
Any additional
Give it a shot.
verbiage on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, and I just want to add one additional thing, because we didn't talk about it before, but it's obvious to me, but I do want it to be for the record, is that Susan doesn't need to recuse on any of those votes, because those are specific to working at the national grid. These are specific to our general contractor and other stuff, so just wanted to put it out there that in your first meeting, get yourself in trouble, you're good.
All right, so we move on to website and rebrand for operations.
Yeah, so exciting stuff. There's a lot to share here. So the first thing that I wanted to share is that the marketing and communications committee met to sort of to authorize us to request these, as well as at the last meeting of the executive committee, we authorized to put out a website rebrand. We set up a review committee, which is made up of 4 members of the staff, myself, Nate, Amber, and Natalie. And then it also has 2 board members, one being board president Pete Cullinan, and second being the chair of the marketing and communication committee, Rachel Pierce. So both those representatives are here on the executive committee. We received 6 responses. They were all very good as well. They're, one of the things, I guess, that's a challenge with these is that you don't know what you're going to get. You could get 6, but 5 could be pretty poor, and 1 is good, and it makes it pretty obvious. All 6 were good. We met earlier this week to have a discussion about that. We have scheduled interviews for August 25th, and I believe it's August 25th, and the review committee will be part of those. So that'll be not next week, but the week following. And then we anticipate making a final decision shortly after. We originally, when we started this, we thought we would have a candidate that we wanted to make a recommendation at this meeting. We thought, hey, someone's gonna come to the top, and it's gonna be very easy to do, and we can make that recommendation and move forward. Since we're not at that place, but we have a committee that is looking at this. My request would be that the executive committee authorize the subcommittee to make that choice and me as executive director to execute that. What I can share is that the costs for these, the cost range anywhere from about, I think it was $75,000 upwards of about $115,000 from like the from the lowest cost up to the highest cost. So I wouldn't want to necessarily identify a number at this point because I think that's telegraphing what we're potentially going to go with, which I still at this point think it's up in the air. But understanding that the highest cost of one of those could be upwards of 115, the lowest cost is 75. So I don't know if we want to make an authorization to anything related to cost or if you're even comfortable saying we want to, let this subcommittee sort of make that choice. I think that the other thing that potentially, based on the timing of this and with the timing of our board meeting, it may be something that could ultimately just go to the board. But we think that probably by the very end of August, very beginning of September, we'll be ready to move forward with it. I guess Karen, when's the next board meeting? Is it
September,
the 9th or?
somewhere around in that area, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have my phone.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess we could wait to make a final decision at that point, but, understanding too that this is a project that we want to try to get completed or mostly completed this year. So we're ready to roll it out in 27. So the longer it goes, the longer we're pushing it out. So I just bring it up from that perspective, but it's really up to you if you want to decide that, like, let's have the committee do that and then we'll report on it at the board meeting, or if you want to have the board actually make the decision. It is a large dollar item thing that we're talking about. I will say that we do have funding to do it. There will be a request once we make our final decision to the county for some sort of a cost share related to this project. But until we actually know what we're going to use, it's a little difficult to say what that'll be.
Austin, that's board meetings, September 14th.
14. Okay. So, I mean, it's probably going to be, we'll probably have a decision or close to that decision by the end of the month or then, 2 weeks after that.
Just a note, did you say 2.5 or 2.6 for our review? Because it should be 26.
I might be wrong on that. Let me just take a look. You're right, it's 26.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. No, that's fine. I was just doing that from memory.
25th, I plan to be on a big
26.
piece of granite.
Yeah. Knocking another of the peaks out.
Yeah, well,
But the point is, we're 6 weeks away from the next.
Right now, yeah, I mean, we're
So it's a matter of whether we would effectively lose
sometime
3 to 4 weeks.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That's really what we're looking at. I mean,
Yeah.
I do think that, and there's a potential that maybe we're not, ready to make that decision coming right out of that meeting. It might take a little bit more time. So, I mean, the more I think about it, it may be something that based on the cost and other things, that maybe just ultimately a board decision that we want to make. But it's really up to you guys if you want to provide that flexibility or not. I think that based on what we have, I think that there's some strong candidates that we're thinking, but we need to have that interview to make sure. There's some outstanding questions.
I think my concern would be that the committee will see all of these proposals, so they'll see what the website's going to look like, for example, by each of the vendors. And nobody on the board is going to be able to see that. I think it would probably be appropriate for the committee to select a vendor and, for 2 or 3 minutes at the board meeting, say, look, this is their design language. This is what it's going to look like. We want you to authorize us to approve this. And then the board will, be vested, understood website going forward. I think my preference would be if we can push it to let the board actually see a little bit of the proposal and what this is going to be going forward.
Okay.
What's the downside of the wait?
It could push the project into January, February, for completion, but that's, I mean.
Do we have a cutoff on our funding or anything like that?
No.
It has to be 20.
I mean, the plus is we did have a lot of board involvement, so it would be good to show it to them up front.
I think it's, I don't have an issue with that. If you you guys decide to do that. But so at this point, really, then it's just really the RFP update, and then you know, if your decision is that the final decision based on award goes to the board.
I'm honestly good either way. I mean, we're gonna look at those three and.
What I don't want to do is I don't want to have whoever we select as our short list have to come in and make a presentation to our board. I don't want to do that. That's
That's
whatever the recommendation is, then that goes forward.
Yeah.
Decision based.
I think we could put a summary together. After our interviews with them, we could put a summary together for better.
Sure.
We've got visuals.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm thinking, it's just visually, I think the board ought to see, this is our new, for the next 5 years, decade, whatever it's gonna be, this is how we'll present ourselves.
In the presentation.
That's what we're working with.
Here's why we picked who we picked.
Yeah,
Or who we're suggesting.
right, and I mean, unless you think it's gonna be a snake pit, the board's gonna say, no, I'm not.
I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be better to have them make a formal decision.
I mean, we did an open RFP, we've got 6 proposals, we've got a good committee.
All right, that's fine. We can do that. Yeah, I really did think we would have like, oh, this is who it's gonna be, and we're happy to have you guys do it. And it's good that it's, we have 6 good proposals.
I think everybody will be happy to know that it's progressing and.
Absolutely.
We could even have if the committee selects someone, we could even have an email about the board in advance. You know, the committee recommends the selection of this individual or will be on the agenda. Here's a snapshot of what the new website.
Yeah. Good. Next item. Yeah, so as part of, and this is also related to, so the last item was a major item in our strategic plan that had been implemented in early 2026. This is another item that was identified as sort of the capacity, growing capacity of the organization, especially related to a lot of the things that are going on right now. Industrial park growth, micro enterprise grant program, just other things that are going on was identified as need for an additional person. So what I am looking to do, and this is a recommendation to the board of directors, so you're not making the approval, so you're recommending me to make this proposal to the board at our September meeting, development of an economic development specialist position. This would be somebody with a minimum 4-year degree, preferred master's, minimum or preferred 3 years experience in economic development. Would be helping with small business related activity, primarily micro enterprise program. Helping us with some grant writing, grant administration, program administration, and business retention, expansion, business attraction work. That person would be working directly under Nate, but working obviously as part of the team here. Some of the other things are still I'm trying to figure out, but and I do want to say that position was presented and built into the proposed 2027 budget. So that's already sort of built into it. But obviously, it's going to be dependent on finding the right person and everything else. So this is something that would be a very end of 26 to 27 creation position in terms of time.
In the sheet that's in the handouts, got 2 columns.
Yeah, one is
Does that help? Is that to help discuss this?
that's really related to the next thing, but I mean it's one of those that it's got 2 columns related to 2027, and this is primarily related to in the event that so what was submitted to the county, so because if you're, the county budget is due at the very beginning of August. Our meeting is not until middle of August, so I have to sort of submit that before we have our meeting. So what was submitted to the county was with a 7-person office. What I provided is if there is not, of what our budget would look like in the event that position is not funded or partially funded by the county, and what does our budget look like otherwise. So that was not provided because that's not what we're asking for. That is to me more of a if that doesn't work, that's what it looks like. So But, you know, it's a position that I believe will help us with our growth right now. I mean, with everything we have going on right now, we're stretched. So with adding additional things, layering additional things in, that's gonna be a significant challenge.
All right, we've got questions for Austin on this one.
You know, say we agree to add the extra person, would it not be official unless we get the money from?
I think that that's where I'm looking to the creation of a staff position and creating what that looks like. But we ultimately would not go into hire that position until we know that there's funding to support it.
And how would this person work with the county and maybe take some duties that's already being done in Oswego County and take some on here?
It would be really some of the things that we are going to be starting here in the next couple of years. And taking those on. It wouldn't be taking on roles that are currently already happening at the county level, county staff or anything like that. It's really, you know, we're gonna have this micro enterprise program that's gonna be rolled out and everybody is already working it, or everybody's already going 100 miles an hour, you know, so it's trying to make sure that we have that. And then as the industrial park is built and as new businesses are coming in, as these things are happening, having the capacity to absorb all this additional activity that's happening.
There is an administrative portion of funding stream.
Correct. Yes, $22,500
So-
per year for 2 years.
Is that essentially who holds to this position?
That's gonna fund a portion of this position.
So that's like a third of it.
Yeah, that's about a third of it. There'd be additional costs from the county, and then there'll be additional costs related to them bringing in additional revenue through other grants and other activities.
So your time frame, it looks like, you don't want to, it's too quick, but, you know, months,
I think, you know, originally my plan was to have it be something that person would be in place before the end of the year. I think at this point, it's probably gonna be something that's gonna be in place shortly into 27.
Oh,
So we're moving forward. Yeah. But with what we present to the board, I would have a full write-up of the duties of the responsibilities of the position, sort of pay range related position, and sort of things, stuff like that. So, but it's, like I said, it's contingent on, to me, it's contingent on it being a full-time position, it's contingent on county funding. And if not, then it's sort of, how do we make it work? Yeah.
So the motion would be for recommendation for you to bring to the
Board at the September meeting.
the addition of the new staff positions.
The creation, not to hire at this point, but the creation of the office looking to create a more position. Yes. Correct. Yeah. It creates a blank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to cross out.
Would anybody like to make that motion?
I'll make.
Rachel?
Yep.
Second? Second. Eric? All right. Now hit them with the hard questions related to it. We've got a motion. How comes down to money?
oh, yeah, it's,
Yeah, it
Funding.
is. It's the funding issue, yeah, for sure.
But to put it on the org chart would probably be a positive.
Mm-hmm.
And then we figure out what comes. Okay.
I think the fact that we're having those discussions that our region is growing, these are all great.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And I've been here since 2006, and we've had a staff of 6 people since 2006. So it's a sort of I look at this as like a milestone thing with the organization growing and doing things to meet the moment.
Austin, to the extent that there's an administrative agreement between Operations Center County and the IDA, does the IDA take part in any of the funding as well? Would that be an ask?
There's some potential there that if there's going to be some responsibility specifically related to IDA related things that there could be. I think that is something that will have to be looked at. I think from the IDA's perspective, they would have to look at, does this change anything related to the administrative agreement in terms of additional tasking? Because the funding that we receive from the IDA is related to an administrative agreement with a list of tasks, not necessarily related to a list of people. Right. So it's the only way that would really change is if those duties were to be increased. That could very well be.
All right, so we've got the motion. Would let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I think the economic development specialists tend to find ways to pay for economic development specialists.
Yeah.
They'll be able to
that's,
locate grants and programs that might be on.
I think that that's sort of the goal is
Yeah.
that, you know, obviously there would be some ways to sort of get it off the ground, but then find some income streams to make it.
Yeah, they'll probably pay for it. The individual will probably identify streams for us.
all right. Let's move to the budget.
All right, so I believe you all have, two different budgets here. So we have a OOC 2027 proposed budget, and so I will say, put out there, I'm asking for forgiveness because this was something that has already been submitted to the county. I could go back and change it. If that's so true. This is what we have to do every year, though. I mean, because of the budget is due at the beginning of August, no question, you know, like that is just when it is due. And that doesn't necessarily work with our timeline in terms of putting something together, having it go through the full executive committee and the full board for approval. So we submit this, and then we come back and ask you to approve that we submitted in the numbers. So this is coming to you first. This will then go to the board at our September meeting. But this is what has been provided to the county, that first column there under 2027. And so, you know, these are numbers that, and I want to say that the 25 budget was submitted, the 26 budget was what was submitted, and we are pretty good about keeping to our numbers. You know, there are some things that you can't necessarily build in on a budget. You know, if an opportunity comes around related to something on a marketing side or something else that you may just not be aware of, you know, the year prior to you submitting it. But, you know, related to our personnel costs and other things like that, we are very good about keeping our numbers good. And I think that, you know, that shows if you look at, you know, our audited financials at the end of the year, what, you know, our budgets were versus, you know, what our actual costs are. I believe the last 3 years, we've been in the black every year. So, not that you want to, as a not-for-profit, you don't necessarily want to be, you know, you want to be as close to that number as you can. But we've been good at doing that. And so, I think we've been doing pretty well on that. So this is really where we're looking at. You know, there obviously is an increase because of bringing in an additional staff person, which is going to have an increase across the board for our numbers. I do want to say that these numbers, the 25 and 26, these were the proposed budgets. These were not necessarily these are not our audited financials. What those are, you guys do have that from 25 and 15. But you know, this is where I think we need to go to be able to do what we're looking to do. So obviously that's going to have on the county side, it's a $36,000 increased ask over the current year. There's an significant increase on sort of the fees, interest, other income. And then there's the new micro enterprise grant administration that is going to be showing up in 27, and it's not an item that's currently in the budget. So, but that's money that's already there for the next 2 years at least to monitor that program. And the plan is to continue to apply for that on a yearly basis, make that a permanent program that we can continue to run that micro enterprise grant program, not a one-time thing.
The county number. Is that already agreed to somewhere?
The 464 number that's the number that we have right now. That's with no increases across the board. The other number is what the request is for 20%. And so ultimately we won't know that till later this year. I believe that is discussed at the November meeting, voted on in December.
In the IDA number?
That number is through next year. We have a multi-year contract with the IDA. Now that could be renegotiated, but that's a multi-year contract with the IDA that's for $500. So that's yes. If that is not renegotiated by the end of next year, there's an automatic 3% increase. That's what I was thinking. Correct. Yeah.
When was the last time you increased the county ask?
2025, we went from 419,000 to 464. It was the same for 12 years before that. We did not have an increase in our budget for 12 years. Okay. Yeah. So,
Did you ask for an increase in those 12 years?
no. and there was no issues when we brought that request. There wasn't an issue in terms of that request. I believe, you know, obviously the relationship with the county is strong. The county is very supportive of the work that's being done. I don't have Ed here to say that for me, but, you know, he said it at multiple executive committee meetings, so I don't feel comfortable saying that.
And it's gotten stronger.
Yeah. So, you know, and I think that this is, you know, one thing I will say is that this is not an ask for an increase in budget, just as an ask, it's to add an additional person. So there's a tangible, you know, reason for that request, other than just costs have gone up. It's more of a, you know, this will be to pay for a portion of a new person to do more work on behalf of Oswego County.
Just so everyone has the framework, during those 12 years, the IDA amount had increased quite a bit.
Yes.
That was
The IDA amount.
that we were rating. Truthfully, the IDA's ability to pay, we're about at the limit with the current activity level. When we start getting the IDA size of large projects or big fees, we probably will in the next few years. Really, the IDA big bank is kind of, we're at the limit. The practice limit what they can afford. Very close to it.
Yeah, and I agree with Kevin there. I mean, I do anticipate that we will see some larger projects, but those are, you know, that's not something that's guaranteed.
All right, so we need a motion for a recommendation to the board to approve the 2027 budget column. It has already been presented.
It's already been sent, yep, my bad. But this is every year.
The timing,
Right, it is a time.
now, we certainly could
We could,
accelerate that, although.
we could hold the executive committee meeting in July versus having. That is a, something if you would like to recommend we do for next year, or have a, you know, the other thing I could have done, and I will say, we had a July 14th special meeting, I just did not have it ready in time for that meeting. So, I mean, if we had a special meeting in July just to do the budget, we could do that. But I just did not have enough information at that time to make to confidently put forward a budget as we have right now.
Will, if we do that, if we take that approach, we have the information next year in time to do that.
If we hold it very late July.
I will say there is an opportunity if the board did approve this. You can put edits in. It's not recommended, but you can put edits in.
Once it's
It's
submitted.
not, yeah, once it's
I
submitted,
don't like it.
no, they don't like it, but you can, because it all goes to the county administrator now in the budget.
Right.
Puts it all together,
Listen, things
the
change between
legislators
now
won't
and the end of
see
the
it till
year.
about October.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I understand that things
Oh,
change
all right.
between now and the end of the year, but they like to plan their stuff well in it, right?
Yeah.
Well, it would probably be cleaner if we tried to get up.
I believe that would be the case, but we still wouldn't have a full board approval, but we could have an executive. I think that's something we probably try to do for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Change that calendar appointment, move it.
Like I said, it's either a special meeting just related to that, or we just move our August meeting to a July meeting.
Okay, all right. All right, so do we have a motion for that recommendation?
Yes, I move.
Right, do we have a second?
Second.
Eric?
Yeah.
So somebody just walked out, do we need that vote?
No, we still have a
Okay, so any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Just make a note that Susan was absent for that vote.
Harris budget and protection.
Sure. So similarly, what we also need to do is our affiliation with the IDA has branded us as a local authority in the eyes of the Authority Budget Office at New York State. The operation of Oswego County is required to submit to the Authority Budget Office on a annual basis a budget which shows our last year actual, our current year estimated, and then our next year adopted, and then also 3 years of proposals, 28, 29, 20, and 2030. So I have in this, we put in our 2027 adopted numbers because we have to provide that. But this doesn't officially get submitted until October, but because we don't have another executive committee and a board meeting between, now and October, do that, approve it now, and then we will submit in October. So this has sort of the number with one additional staff and that adopted number, and then those numbers are carried forward into future years. This is not something ABO has never come back and said, oh, your proposed budget in 2030 didn't match what your actual budget was. It's never, I mean, this is a good faith effort to show this is what we think it'll be, but obviously things change. I would say at this time last year, probably didn't think we would have an additional staff in 2027. So how can you plan for some of those things that far in advance? So, but this is, using the numbers that we just discussed for the 27, looking at some estimated and even on the estimated for 26, that's using some of our happier numbers plus some of the things that we think will happen. I still think that number will be off a bit just because there's some things that just can't account for it. Some of the big things you can't account for when land sales take place. Like we have about $120,000 of land sales that have been approved that are waiting for sale. We have a daycare facility that has been approved for sale that we have to, that we think is going to close by the end of the year. And so some of these things, they throw your numbers way off based on when they actually take place. So we don't try to count those things in because you don't know when they actually hit.
Okay. So we need recommendation to the board to move that information.
Yep, for their formal approval at the September board meeting.
Okay. Anybody like to make that motion?
Something coming.
Ron and Eric?
You guys are like the MVPs of this meeting.
Any further discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, the next item is not one that we require any approval on. It's more of an update. City BOCES has been leasing a building from Operations Oswego County in the industrial park for the last, I believe, 11 years. They started in 2015, 2016, right around that time. For that time, they have been utilizing that as sort of office space for some of their different administration people as well as some of their educators. Recently with they run a program. They have not been running it there, but they run a program called, and I'm going to get the name wrong, the Bridges to Success.
Yeah.
Bridges to Success, which is a alternative high school program that's been very successful that City BOCES runs. They have been running that out of a facility that was at the former, when the Dunsmores owned the indoor soccer field just outside the city of Oswego. With the purchase of that facility and that being turned now into a 130,000 square foot indoor sports complex, they had to move that program. Jeremy Belfield with City came to me and said, we really don't have another location that we can put this facility right now, other than, the one that makes the most sense to us is this building down at the industrial park. It already set up its classroom space. It's the right size for it. And the lease that we have in place with them says the facility can be used for, workforce training, it can be used for education. It was broad enough that it fits within the scope of what their lease is now. Our lease with them runs until June 30th of 2028. So we have about a little less than 2 years left on that lease. So I discussed with Jeremy and said, all right, I mean, I think if this is something that you guys, if the town of Scruple through their planning process is okay with it, I don't have an issue with it. However, that's not ultimately the ideal use of the space. So we may have to look at that related to a lease renewal, but there's nothing in the lease that says they can't do that. So wanted to give you guys an update, not asking for approval. Ultimately, they have a lease in place, a 5-year lease, and it fits within the scope of what their lease is. And they're actually making improvements to the facility on their costs that need to be done. There's some stuff related to some windows and some other things like that that they've agreed to take on. There is some work that needs to be done on the parking lot down there. Next year, we talked to them about doing some cost sharing things. They can help bring some resources to the table for that. But I want to let you know that, you know, on at least a short-term basis, which could be the next 2 years, they are looking to utilize that space for that purpose. And they've said that we are also going to, this is a program that runs until about 3 o'clock every day. They have plans to utilize at night and other things for workforce training. I said it's extremely important to the future use of that facility, that, you know, the original intent is, you know, has some use there. So they're looking to do that with some things. They're actually excited related to a lot of things like Micron. They see their presence down there in the southern part of the county as being important to sort of overall regional efforts related to some training stuff. But just wanted to give you guys a heads up, and if you have any questions you wanted to ask, feel free. To my knowledge, they are still going through that process with the Thomas Group. It hasn't been approved at this point. They better get on their horse about that, because I believe that program starts in 3 weeks. So.
Does that increase bus traffic?
It would.
Park?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be much, because we've actually been we were down to the Dunsmore facility when that was running in one bus. It's not like they're gonna have 100 kids there. It's probably 30 to 30 kids, I think, something like that.
It's a whole year program.
It's based on a school year program, yeah. So it'll run from September through June, and then, you know, summer's on.
Very honestly.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not ideal, but, you know, I don't anticipate it having any impact on the industrial park overall. One of the things they talked about was, this also gives an opportunity for some of the students in there to potentially get do some job shadowing and other things. They want to try to connect some of the kids in this program to some of the businesses at the park. So, you know, I look at it from the perspective, this could be potentially be a pipeline for some of the businesses down there to get some access to students they wouldn't have otherwise. So
I think we're a changing environment right now. You know, if we get more folks in these programs to help folks better themselves, but also provide future employees for local business.
But we're, you know, to me, we're seeing how this works over the next 2 years. And if it doesn't, then obviously we don't have to release related to that program.
Are they looking at other locations? Are they?
They already are.
Future?
Yeah, they already are. So, I mean, I talked to them about their own campus, and that's something I think that's an option. But there isn't space available at this time for it. So, but they're aware they're sort of on the clock.
It doesn't sound like we're concerned that this is gonna really impact any of the other daily functions of that industrial park at all.
It will, I mean, there will be some additional traffic in there, because it'll have actually more use than it is now, or now it adds sort of a skeleton crew there, and then, you know, on occasion they use it more. This will actually have more daily traffic in, but
That buses today, the daycare too already.
there are buses to go to the daycare. Yep.
But like, we're not gonna run out of parking in the industrial park, so.
They have a massive parking lot actually in that building that barely gets used, so.
Are the kids allowed to drive their own vehicle?
Nope. I don't
No,
believe
it's not
so.
there.
Close the policy.
Yeah, and even though that's off campus, it still goes. So they have to be bused from where
I'm just thinking all the trucks that are gonna be going in and out. Currently,
Yeah, right.
the construction.
Yeah.
Just make sure everybody's safe, but
Yeah.
actually, WD Malone, there may be some shadowing opportunities with.
It's a possibility.
Heavy lifting, they're doing.
There's some possibilities, yeah. I think that that's something that from our perspective is that we want to make sure that that is going to be utilized as, to the best of its ability.
Yeah.
That would be a great thing. But that's sort of where the facility is right now. Just wanted to guys that. And I'll give the same update to the board as a whole, the September board.
If it's going well, at least initially, then I consider whether there's a press release or a media opportunity to say, look at how we're using this industrial park to
I want to wait till they get the.
You did say, you did preface it by saying if it's going.
If going well means that they're in compliance and everything else.
There's a debacle on week 2.
Yeah.
Just keep it.
But no, I think that, you know, it's
It's a challenge and an opportunity.
Right.
Is what I pointed out. I mean, this is an alternative high school education
Yeah.
program, right? So it comes with certain challenges,
Right.
but also those opportunities, which
Yeah.
could be a really good story.
It could be, if it works out, it could be a very good
Yeah.
story.
And I think, you know, connecting some of the businesses down there, like the Dow Drops and other things, to them and say, hey, you know, we got a kid in here through this, we're gonna hire. You know, I hope that those are cool stories.
It's nice to see the
Right.
time being used for some training at all. Like,
Yeah,
it's a little underutilized right
Right,
now.
it is a little bit underutilized right now, so
Yeah.
we'll definitely see some additional use of it and get some good opportunities.
Well, so far, we've had 10 agenda items that have all been on the high, so now let's look into number 11.
Let me ask this, I mean, because this being about the particular financial position of certain corporations or individuals, should we enter into executive, or do you think at this point, I mean, they've been identified as the entities on the agenda, do we just do it?
I'm all for me.
You're entirely, it's entirely appropriate to discuss this openly. If there was a reason for going into an executive session, you can do that, but the executive session is a choice, not a mandate.
Right.
Right? So you can discuss any business openly. Right? And I think there is at least some benefit to discussing this openly, publicly, given the nature.
Just wanted to put it out there as an option in the event that the discussion goes a certain way.
I think the only thing I would say is a caveat to that, for getting into any individual's kind of protected personal situation, medical issues or something like that as a cause.
I'm not aware of any.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's not anticipated to take part in the discussion. So I'll
And I could stick to the thing. Yes.
I'll turn it over to Kevin then to talk about this.
Yeah, so the COVID emergency loan program, a number of you know about. I've got new people on this committee since March of 2020 when it was rolled out. I mean, altogether, it was a very successful program. We lent out, I don't have the exact details, we had a $500,000 fund from the IDA. We lent out nearly all of it, about 90% of it, to small businesses this was before PPP, before EIDL, before a lot of other programs came out on a national level. We didn't really know what was in front of us with closures. All we knew is businesses were shutting down. So it was a $10,000 limit with 6 months, no payments, no interest. And then you couldn't repay it at the end of 6 months. It turned into a short-term loan for 2 years at 3% interest. So still a good deal. Turned out with closures, second, third rounds of closures, 6 months probably wasn't long enough. And there's still, in my mind, there's still reverberations of COVID with a lot of our small businesses for sure. But we've had excellent, really success, I would say. Team, congratulate the team on collecting these loans. There were 43 or 44 loans made. We had one write-off already due to a business closing, sort of a negotiated settlement with that one. These two have been in collection, and that was a couple of years ago. These two have been in collection efforts really since the beginning of the loans. Very different circumstances with the two we're proposing to write off. And we've already taken a fair amount of action on both. So I'll give you a quick update. Ed Hair was I think it was the last COVID loan we actually made. And it's a little bit of different use. It was a change of ownership of a hair salon in Fulton. It was at the time when hair salons were really struggling, and your retiring new owner came in with some experience. It seemed like a good way to use this loan program to help support a small business. While she did renovate, kind of put her own flair on the building and buy some things for the business, it never stayed open much at all. I'm not really sure of the circumstances. We have tried to find a principal. We have actually, but this is going a lot further. You guys have seen this loan before. Kevin has taken action. We have a judgment against the principal. And that judgment has been turned over to collection with a local collection law firm that we use. And he is person responsible for it. That firm has had no success. We've had to hunt this person down. I mean, we don't even know, to be honest, if she's in the area. We really had no contact. Kevin had difficulty serving her. This is a year and a half ago, probably, Kevin. So this one has been, we've done, we've exhausted. Really, we've built out on collecting.
And it's all kind of at this point, you want to keep spending more money to go after.
The unfortunate thing here is she borrowed $9,000, a little bit under the maximum 10, but she never paid it. So it's still $9,000 balance. We didn't make, there's no interest income or anything to help justify this write-off, but it's truly, and yeah, I mean, we have the judgment. That judgment will be with the principal for the rest of her life, unless it's paid off.
20 years.
Yeah,
20,
20,
enforceable
years.
for 20 years.
Yeah.
A lien against any property that she may own for 10, but we're not aware that she owns that property.
Whether that could be maybe down the road, if that's restricted to her, she might pass off, I don't know. And of course, just writing it off doesn't mean we wouldn't keep those legal claims. And if we'll not leave it on file with the collection agent, I don't anticipate any action. So I don't think he's been able to contact her at all.
I do want to add a couple things on this. So this was, and Kevin did say that this was originally funding that came from the IDA to make these, and as these loans were paid off, that funding was returned to the IDA. It does not stay with Operations Oswego County. It's permanent sort of fund money. And there's also no recourse to Operations Oswego County. If a loan is not repaid, that does not mean that we are then responsible for repaying the IDA. It's just less that they are going to get refunded to them in the end. And the other thing is as we knew, and Kevin said, when we put this program out there, there was no PPP, there was no the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Fund from SBA. We fully anticipated that many of these loans would never be collected, but we needed to put that funding out there.
Well, we've collected in full
Yeah.
41 out of 44.
Which I think is a testament that we did a very good job. I know that, other entities, I think the city of Oswego had a similar program. They just forgave everybody because they used more money they got from ARPA. Well, the ID never got our money to do that. So we did not have money to be able to forgive people. So these are all they've all gone through a collection, or we've all been servicing these loans, and for the most part, got them all back.
And there was a degree of coordination between Operations Oswego County and the city of Oswego. I'm not aware of any other municipality that had a similar COVID loan program, emergency program, but the city did a very similar program, again, $10,000 limit. And we tried to coordinate and give more of the money in loans out to non-city businesses, although that's a segue into the next one, because this is the city of Oswego. That had its own story. Yes, so
that's the bedhead hair story. So I'm asking who we could approve these this morning.
Together.
Yeah. So I'm asking so we've already voted to engage Kevin. He's done that. We paid, there's been expenses to collect. It's all in this. So I'm asking for formal approval to write it off. That again, that doesn't mean she doesn't owe us the money, and the judgment is still there and currently enforcing it. So
Yeah. Kevin, we had also talked about, one of the other things we were talking about is if this is written off by us, does that then become income to her? And is she going to have any sort of an IRS? Is IRS going to go after her for taxes paid on unpaid income?
we can should issue a 1099 for forgiven debt is income. So it's a way to.
I guess I just question, if we do that, is the judgment still exist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was just one of my questions. If we're kind of writing it off, then does the judgment that stay out there?
Yes, quickly, but I wonder.
No, I don't write off the bookkeeping really
Yeah.
exercise.
What I was asked for was the bookkeeping exercise.
Yeah.
So she still signed the loan agreements.
Yeah.
We can, she has to pay tax on it.
So I only know if when we come to a settlement, then there's the 1099 issue. But if not, we haven't come to a settlement, the money's just written off. It's staying up there. I get from the bank,
I wasn't really prepared to talk about that today, but yeah, maybe we need to look into that a little more. That might be why.
Yeah. And
Well, well, some of the exercise here, I guess we're basically being asked, in writing off the debt to cease the actual collection activity, like the contract throwing more money at debts. What I would ask.
Yeah.
Now, if all of a sudden
with bad head hair, she shows up and says, oh my God, I know I owe you guys something, I can only pay you $2,000, we can deal with that when it rolls around, but we're not gonna be actively going after her. She,
Like, right,
Yeah.
if she wants to come and say, boy, you have this judgment, I can't buy this house, you know.
right,
Can I sell
exactly,
it
can I
for
sell it?
half or something? Yeah, that would come back to this. Good.
And, you know, just put it out there, at the statutory, interest rate of 9% on that judgment amount, right? So
Yeah, right.
that
Good point,
keeps
Kevin.
clicking.
Yeah.
Not that, you know, we may, but it's a negotiation point at that point, you know.
Right.
She wants to buy a new house, you can't get
Yeah.
clear credit to,
Yeah.
so now we've got to negotiate a settlement of her debt. It may come back, but, you know, we're not gonna actively pursue it.
Yeah, I'm not saying we do that this time, as I just guess it was what, you know, good to get your perspective on that too, Ron, on how does that work, if you guys do that, so.
I'll, maybe if I can, Ron, I could work with you to, with the bank to figure out this question of whether it should be finished, right?
Yeah.
Somehow has some effect on our legal standing about it. Because it is an indication, recorded indication of forgiveness, I guess, so. Now Inkings coming into the city of Oswego is a different story. This is a business here in the city on First Street, a tattoo parlor. The original debt was $10,000. This has also been before this group, before Kevin in the past got involved. I think it was in the winter of 21-22, so a number of years ago now. He borrowed, the business borrowed this money and really made no payments until Kevin got involved, but it was a bit of a, we didn't file a judgment or anything. It was a little more informal than that, but put some pressure on him. We did collect some payments, so the balance went from $10,000 down to what's on the balance sheet now, $1,509. We've collected $309 of interest, in addition to that principal pay down. I've been unable to contact the principal with this business, so, and we've already engaged counsel. I don't, for $1,500, I'm not sure, I guess it's a question for this body, but I don't think there's a lot of point in continuing to pursue it, but
They still
I
open.
don't. 1,500, they are still open, yeah. No,
Yeah, this was more about is the cost to go after, or the cost.
so the principal and I had to give him, this is a quick hand ledger of payments received, but you probably for each of these payments, you could look at my text messages of needing to come in. We were sending letters. I mean, it was never easy, but we would get principal to come in with cash from time to time to make payments. That the last payment was made in October of 24, and I tried with letters and also, you know, certified texts, cell phone calls. I am not going to reach my suit, maybe I'm blocked. So, yeah.
Have you gone try to get that?
I was just gonna say.
I haven't done that.
$1,509
Yeah, exactly.
Here we say, put in there with a subpoena and a request for a. Some lower back thing or something,
I know what happened.
Lower back, that'd be great.
You know, the last time when I talked to him and it's been a while, when I came in, I literally walked in the store and I said, what's up? And he goes, yeah, I know. I knew this day was coming. I'll get some money over to you guys. So he's aware of it. I just, you know.
Well, he can continue to come in and.
Yeah.
Even if he's right.
Correct.
Absolutely.
That's true, yeah, I mean, that's.
Yeah, I think just from a bookkeeping perspective,
It's time.
we can informally.
Yeah, you've done.
That's right, that's right.
And the value of spending more money, like, is not there as I see it.
Right.
So I'd like to ask permission to write that up also.
So do we need a motion for these two, or is
Um,
the concurrence?
Together.
Yeah, there should be a vote. for
There
this.
should, there's a formal
Yeah,
action.
it is. I think it should be on it.
For each one individual.
It could be combined. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you know, with the
Same
numbers on
action.
the agenda. I thought, or, you know, 10,509 total. And as Austin said, we're fully backed up by the IDA. For information, the IDA has both of these loans fully reserved, so don't really. Yeah, the P&L impact was already taken several years ago, in fact, with both of these loans. With their consolidated group. That's that motion. other questions or comments?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any- Any abstention?
Right. I'm gonna try to lightning round the executive director report. So last week, we did have the formal groundbreaking for the Elemental Federal County Industrial Park expansion. Thank you for those in attendance. I know we had about half of the attendance from the executive committee there. It was really a good turnout. We probably had maybe 60 people there total, between stakeholders, funders, other entities there. So we've had some good bump in terms of promotion from that, but the real work starts now. The official date really is going to be a little bit later this month, where W.D. Malone, just some further information, W.D. Malone was selected by the IDA through a competitive bidding process, sealed bidding process. They were the lowest bidder on that, so they owed our work. And as well as National Grid or representative of National Grid over the next year. So we fully anticipate that the project will be completed by September of 2027. And I'm sure there'll be additional news between now and then related to potential businesses and things that have already shown interest and are excited about the future of the park. So
At what point do you start marketing it?
now, I mean,
No.
yeah, it's part of the challenges, hey, we're marketing something that is going to be great for a while. But that doesn't mean we can't already feel like, hey, well, you guys are going to carve off this 40-acre piece, you're going to do this, that. It's just, they can't really get in and do what they need to do. But the companies are aware of that.
It'd be helpful if we had something sold or under contract, so we would know how to, build a road or clear other land.
Oh,
Make
yeah,
our job easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
We just recruited a slate of promotional videos. We're
Yeah,
well on the
yeah.
way with those, so
Yeah.
we're starting marketing it to get earnest.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're redoing ads, we're redoing stuff on LoopNet and some other things like that related to the park, instead of talking about it as a raw piece of land, it's talking about it as an industrial park. So there's definitely things going on with that. It'll be a big part of our SunnyCon West promotional activity. So no, things are moving there. I also wanted to report, and just try to be careful because we're in public session and obviously report it. So Central New York Raceway Park, for those who remember, about 10, 12 years ago, there was a proposed plan road course on a site in the town of Hastings, right between 11 and 81. That project never really got off the ground. There were significant issues with it. The property went into the owner and the property went into bankruptcy. The IDA owns has a mortgage on a portion of that property, and the county is working through an inland foreclosure, tax foreclosure on another portion. So September 1st, the IDA is going to be having a mortgage foreclosure on a 61-acre piece of property that is there. It's an important site. I mean, it's a site that we look at as it's a important one related to future economic development in Oswego County because of proximity to Micron and other things. So we're very interested in what will take place there. We'll get into it more than that. But there's two separate auction processes. One is September 1st. The county is also going to go for their own public online auction for the 80-acre piece that the county has. So more to come on that in the future. But we will definitely know who the owner is of the 61 acres that we are going to be having our foreclosure auction by the time of our next board meeting, and I will report on that at our September board meeting. I also wanted to report that. So I'm going to be jumping around a lot here. The consolidated funding application, this is the process that the state provides funding to economic development projects on a yearly basis. We provided technical assistance to 8 different businesses and municipalities that came to us and asked for our assistance related to either private businesses or municipalities. Some of that is support letters, some of it is actually kind of taking a look at what they're doing, giving some input on what makes a successful. I can state that, and I can't use them by names, but there were 2 businesses that went forward and have their application in. One of them I will have to recuse from, and the other one I will not. And then several other municipalities that put stuff in that we supported it through letters or some other way. So significant assistance related to that. Those awards will not come out to the very end of this year, so we won't know if they were actually awarded. That's why I don't want to use any names or anything like that, because if they didn't get it, I'll put that out there. Other things going on, so, I'm the co-chair of the Village of Mexico's New York Forward process. We just had our first sort of official local planning committee meeting 2 weeks ago. The call for projects is now active on that. If you know of anybody who may be interested in doing a project in the Village of Mexico, please connect us, because they have $4.5 million, and they're trying to find the best projects to allocate the $4.5 million to. It could be a private business project, it could be a municipal project, but the funding has to be spent on sort of brick and mortar stuff, even operational dollars to help, a budget gap you have, or try to increase it. It's got to be for, putting money into a building, putting money into a site, that kind of stuff. But that process, it got a late start this year because of how long it took for the budget to get approved by the state, pushed everything back. So usually this is the process that wraps up by November. It probably would push to February or March of this year. So we'll have a long time before we know it actually gets funding. But if it's we were very involved in I was the co-chair for the Village of Alaska's $10 million DRI. I was the co-chair for the Village of Phoenix's $4.5 million forward. So it's a good way for us to get involved and help to drive some of the vision related to what happens in municipalities. So really the goal of the state on these programs is to, like with the Oswego DRI, put $10 million in and leverage $100 million private investment. So that's the thought, on a smaller scale with some of these villages, and then try to really target and drive that investment to happen within a small area of transformation. So if we have, 6 to 8 projects that happen along a half a mile stretch of the 104 corridor there, that's going to have a transformational effect overall on the village versus a one-off project or something. So, and that's a good project for Mexico. It builds off of what's already happening with the Bex Hotel project there. It's a good place, particularly related to the potential for nuclear. They're really the closest, incorporated kind of, area to where that's going to happen. About 5 miles from where that is. So exciting stuff from Mexico.
It is, it's very exciting. I appreciate all your help with it.
Yeah.
I'm supervisor. The village has its mayor, but we get involved as well. We're trying to.
The village is inside the town.
Yeah,
So
no.
they're taxpayers of the town of Mexico.
They are town residents. Yeah,
Exactly.
legally, we're not, if you're in the town, you're not a village resident.
I think sometimes people don't realize that if you're anyone who's in the village is also a town taxpayer as well.
Yep.
But that's going forward, and we'll hopefully we'll see how this sort of develops over the next year. But right now there's a call for projects for really the next sort of 4 weeks going. So if there's anything you can think of, please get it to me. We'll get them to where they should, what they should look at. There is a boundary area, and it's primarily sort of the 104 corridor. It does go off of some of the side streets a little bit, but it's really kind of meant to try to drive investment within that very visible, sort of main street, we call it, of Mexico. Manufacturing Summit is being planned. I know that there's going to be a meeting, I believe, next week. Did you get that now, Rachel? You did? Okay. So all of our stakeholders who've been involved in previous manufacturing summits have been invited to participate in that. It's going to be held at Community College again. The date of the event is October 21st. And it's going to be sort of an all-day event, most of the day, not all day, but most of the day. And it's really meant to bring together resources, best practices for both our small and medium and large manufacturers. It's a good opportunity to learn about funding. It's a good opportunity to learn about programs related to workforce and some other things. And every year we try to grow it and add some new wrinkles to it to make it a sort of fun event. And last year we had 75 people there. First year we had 70. So every year we're kind of growing it. We've actually had requests for manufacturers outside of Oswego County to go, and which we haven't necessarily turned down, but I mean, ultimately the goal of this is to try to drive investment here in Oswego County. So hey, if somebody from another county wants to come and talk about maybe doing stuff here, I don't know about that. But anyway, I talked a little bit about Semicon West earlier. So we will be I will be part of the team, Nate Emmons will be part of the team, Rachel here will be part of the team from the county perspective install. And then Chairman Jim Weatherup will be there as well. So we'll have a 5-person team this is another thing that every year we kind of grow our presence there. Started with 2 the first year, last year 4, now we'll have 5. But we're right in the thick of planning right now related to that. And like I said, the video series will be part of that. But then also we're coordinating with Rachel's office in particular. How do we create some really good marketing materials that sort of combine us on the economic development side and on the development side, what Oswego County has to offer for companies within the semiconductor industry. And now that I'm looking, I may want to talk to you, Susan, about if there's anything on like the other side that we talk about our sites in particular, but of the other programming, because National Grid also has programs for new companies. I don't know if you guys already have some of that literature there, but we're happy to put it in our stack.
I'm sure you
A little competitive advantage. And I was like, well, they don't have it in theirs. We do. But anyway, so that's in San Francisco this year. A unique thing related to SemiCon West, it's always done in the fall. In 2027, it's being moved in the spring. It's going back to Phoenix. So we're going to do this, and then within 6 months, we're going to be getting rid. So we're not going to really get a chance to take a break, debrief. We're going to kind of go right to planning again for the spring event in Phoenix. Just like walk around.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah. And we're not talking Phoenix, New York. But
No, right. That'd be quite cool.
So we have to do something.
Pretty amazing.
With it being in Phoenix, we could do our planning, we could do our marketing around the other Phoenix.
That's right.
And have the industrial park. Anyway.
The other cool. So we have water. That's it. You have all this. Actually, all seriously, that's all. Put it in that, because you could really.
So Phoenix.
Not 110 degrees.
Comfortable temperatures.
Like 11 o'clock at night, it's still 95 degrees.
Oh, yeah, that's
right. We had our board orientation in late July. It was a very good event. I know that Susan was there. 3 of our 4 new board members were there. All 4 were wanted to go. One couldn't make it. We also had a couple of existing board members there. I think it was a very valuable event especially for new board members coming in to sort of understand, like, why do we exist? How do we work? Like, what kind of things do we do? And what is our plan? Where are we going? So I think it was good from that. I think that's just something we're just going to really, this year it really made sense. We had 4 new board members coming in, but we're going to really try to do that. And then I want to get that information out to all board members what that presentation looks like. It's always kind of go look at, get a refresher. So that was a great event.
Susan, how did you think?
I thought it was really valuable. I think that the historical perspective on the organization, we've done a lot of work together, but still really kind of where it came from.
Yeah. Right. Well, we talked a little bit too about like the name change and other things like that. The name, I mean, and this is, I think from a brand recognition, Operation Oswego County doesn't mean much to people outside of this area. They think it's like either it's a military exercise or it's like a healthcare or something else. The other thing that operation means something with a start and an end. Like a military operation has beginning and an end, like I think with the name and sort of the subconsciousness of it, like getting out of that, it's like this isn't an organization with a beginning and an end. It's an organization that has sustainability and long-term viability. So that was another thing that was sort of talked about, part of the purpose of renaming. I only got 2 more things, so make it quick. So new nuclear, there's, we continue to push and advocate for new nuclear for Oswego County. I will also say that Constellation is a big part of that discussion now. They are pushing very publicly, openly that Oswego County is the place for nuclear in New York State. We're working together on multiple efforts, Future Energy Alliance, just what we're doing, pushing for. I'm a part of the NYSERDA's nuclear master energy plan, both on the supply chain side, as well as some other parts of that. Rachel and I are going to be going to an event in September. It's put on by Nuclear New York. It's a symposium that we do on an annual basis related to nuclear, and we'll be there on behalf representing Oswego County. So that'll be a 2-day event, I think, or 2.5 days, 2.5 day event out there. So really pushing, and it has to be there, as they understand that Oswego County is most likely to have a part to play in new nuclear in New York State. So that's exciting. And then just the last thing I want to say is, related to, and I can, if there's anything on these or other items you want to ask on, we still continue to move forward related to the sale of the Discovery Daycare building to OCO. Had a meeting with them recently. I anticipate there will be some, formal documents, to be approved at our, September board meeting in the anticipation to close by the end of this year. So, you know, and met with several times, the new executive director of OCO, and this is definitely part of his vision, priorities is to get that done. So you never know when you have sort of, you know, changing transition of leadership of, you know, is this going to be their project or not? And, but this is definitely something that they want to move, and they actually want to move it sooner. If they're like, hey, you know, we're currently paying the lease on it, but, you know, the longer we have a lease, that's money we can't get back. We just like to own that thing, put that money towards it. So exciting stuff there. Lots of things. So it's not built into the budget, but there is the anticipation that will probably close by the end of the year, but it's not a guarantee. So, you know, obviously you can't really time that. Similar to the selling of the DEC last year, the Business Expansion Center. Those are nice things to have hit thing, but you just don't know if those will actually take place. We also have about 4 different land deals, all down at, well, 3 of them at the industrial park, 1 of them at the airport industrial park that are also most likely to close before the end of the season. So lots of fun things. So, any questions on any of those, or any questions on anything else not brought up? Okay.
Next meeting date, November 5th.
Yeah, I
And
believe
I
that's-
hate to do this, but I'm gonna ask you a question. Does 8 o'clock work for people? Or there have been inklings that later might be better?
Even an hour
If you do it earlier?
Let's go. You want to bring people in nuclear, you're like, I'm ready for lunch.
So 6:30 then.
8:30.
I know it's tough for Rachel, I know that.
8:30. 8:30.
I'm a farmer.
I do think we want to look at for like next year, you know, do we want to push them further ahead just to kind of run that way, they're like 8:30 or not. So Rachel, you've got kids, you gotta try to get to school at 8:30.
I can't get here for either.
Yeah.
Without planning.
Does 9 o'clock work for people?
9.
Or does it work for everybody else?
I wouldn't be able to.
My day will be ruined, but sure.
It's been a little warmer on the golf course when you get out there.
We'll just be ruined 1 hour later.
Oh, yeah, fair. I mean, what we could try to do is keep meetings shorter. I mean, you know, we've grown accustomed to having 2-hour executive committee meetings that keep it under an hour and a half. And at the end of the day, you're
I'll
keeping.
do what's good for them. So if 9 works for everybody else, then I'm okay.
Do we want to do that for the upcoming meeting, or do we want to do that for meetings going from January going forward?
I'm not making that decision.
We can reschedule. We can reschedule our
Yeah,
executive.
we can move
November.
the November
9
meeting.
o'clock.
Does it affect her?
No, only just, you know, just kind of.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm good with whatever everyone wants.
No, I'm done myself.
Wow.
All right, any other business, I guess? I'm gonna ask that, not me.
Any other
We'll
business?
move the November meeting to 9 o'clock then. We'll change the calendar invite that went out so that it shows up on your calendar.
Yeah, if you can send us an update.
Yeah, and then going forward, we'll just schedule them for 9
I will say that 9 o'clock is better for staff as well. So it's,
We were talking about it.
Did that calendar appointment already come out?
Yeah.
Calendar, I didn't think I saw.
okay, should be there.
I think Amber sent those out,
It's
but I.
on my calendar.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so I can go in and just edit that. And, it'll show up on your calendar then at 9.
We got this one done in under an hour and a half, but I'm pretty confident we'll get future ones done.
All right. Would anybody want to make a motion to adjourn? Would anybody like to second that?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just need the officers to hang out for a brief foundation meeting.
Oh.
Rachel,
What's
you have a
that?
second?
Number.
You did? Okay, that's right. Oh,
It's on the bottom.
thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Did we stop recording?
You'll have to-
John, you're staying on, right?
We're not discussing.
Yes, yep, I can stand.